Greetings, fellow adventurers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering our Adventurer Guild. If you would like to skip the overview or the details of this series, please use YouTube chapters. Our Adventurer Guild is a game where you assume the role of a guild leader for a guild that has seen better days. Through turn-based tactical battles and complex character development, you strive towards a thriving guild. Hunt monsters and bandits, gather materials, craft arms and armor, brew potions, and equip and train your adventurers to be the best they can be. Live viewers for the series will be assigned to adventurers that we hire and give an agency to guide the character development. I'm going to be starting a new game on normal difficulty with the tutorial turned on. I won't be playing Iron Man mode rather, but I'm going to try to avoid save scumming, which means in most cases when a character dies, they're dead. Characters in the guild will be assigned to participating subscribers in the chat, and the roster of the guild can be found at any time on my website, and the link to it is in the commands. And then there's a whole participation guide if you are indeed an adventurer assigned to the guild. So let's get started. Normal difficulty. Tutorial on, not Iron mode. Dear friend, it has been a long time, hasn't it? I always thought about writing you, but I've never found the courage to do so. How ironic that my very first letter to you would also be my last. Because by the time you receive this letter, I will already be dead. Friend, I have a favor I want to ask of you. It concerns the Adventurer Guild. It has been difficult these last couple of years. It shames me to admit that we have been struggling, and I'm afraid of what will become of the guild now that I'm gone. I fear that without the right leadership, it will cease to exist. That's why I want you to become the new guildmaster. I know it might be selfish of me to ask this of you, but I ask as your friend, as someone who considers you family. Please don't let our dream die. Former Guildmaster and Adventurer Guild, your old friend, Fran. The game starts off with you assuming the leadership of a guild of one of your friends who has passed. It shouldn't be much further from here. If we follow the road, we should be arriving at the guild in no time. Good to hear. This journey has been exhausting. You got us lost several times, and we had pretty much run from every encounter we came across. Honestly, I'm surprised we even survived this far. Yes, I'm sorry about that, Guildmaster. We haven't been adventurers for long. Guildmaster, it's still weird hearing that. I guess we didn't really show our best side so far, did we? No. No, you didn't. Jeez. Really didn't start off on the right foot with our future boss, did we? Time to butter up. I know we haven't been great so far, but we're still young and learning. I'm sure we'll improve in no time under your leadership. Especially when you're such a handsome... pretty good-looking person? Thank you, I guess? What was that stutter just now? I noticed I can't tell if our guildmaster is a man or a woman. What are you talking about? Of course it's See, you can't tell either, right? I have an idea. Guildmaster, I noticed we never called you by your name. I kind of feel bad about it. Makes everything so formal. Technically, I'm your boss, so that just seems right. Yeah, yes, of course. But it doesn't seem right if we don't at least know your name. So, could you tell us? My name is Rad. I guess there's no harm in that. It's Rad. Rad, I see. Of course, of course. You still can't tell, can you? No. You think it'd be awkward to ask now? What do you think? Let's, for now, just keep rolling with it and avoid the use of pronouns. If you're done whispering, I have a suggestion to make. As you said, you're still capable of learning, but I do want to reach the guild in one piece, so here's my suggestion. For the remainder of the journey, let me take charge. I used to be an adventurer for more than half my lifetime, so I'm sure I can bring the best out of you. I don't think any of us would have issues with that. Good. Then follow me. So, what were their names again? Pretty sure they told me. Also pretty sure they told me their life stories and traits, which is also kind of weird to tell a stranger. Maybe I'll find that info in their character pages. Alright, tutorial basics. Whenever you move, the enemies will also start moving. If you get too close to the enemy, they will start chasing you. If they catch you, you'll have to fight them. You can try to outrun them if you do not wish for a confrontation. Move around with WASD. And there will also be several interactable objects on the quest map highlighted with a sparkle effect. To interact with them, get next to them and press the interact button, which is E. Okay, I'm going to be renaming our starting heroes based upon our roster here. And yes, I just grew really big. I don't know why I set the camera like that. But we already have a roster. So let's go ahead and update it. Crawford. You are going to be Fish Pickles. I think I can change it from this screen. I might need to actually get back to the guild before doing any of this. I just realized. Because I'm not certain I can change them here. So we'll do that later. Okay, so moving around. WSD. And there is a bandit ahead. Just to take a look at them. Crawford here has a healthy body, which means he has higher endurance and gains more endurance per level. Before I go into the levels, let's just explain some basic stats. So we have strength, dex, intellect, endurance, wisdom, and willpower. Your strength is your physical attack damage. Your dex is your accuracy, dodge, and initiative. Your intellect is your magical attack damage. Your endurance is your hit points and poison resistance. Your wisdom is your, like, spell points or action points, if you will. SP, as well as mind resistance to, like, stuns and stuff like that. And then your willpower is your bravery and crit chance. As you can see, if you mouse over them, they'll tell you. So take a look at our starting heroes, which will be renamed, mind you. Crawford has a healthy body, so he has higher endurance than the average person, and also gains more higher percentage of endurance per level. So I have all this written up in the guide here, this participation guide right here, about what classes are, how to level up, etc., etc. But the long and short of it is essentially the amount of attributes that you gain per level depend on the class that you have and the traits that you have. So in the defender class, for instance, defender classes will gain endurance and strength more than the other stats per level. So someone that has a healthy body who also is a defender, on average, will gain a lot more endurance than someone without. That's basically the long and short of it. So some of the way, a lot of the traits here will determine what classes you're suited for. So, for instance, Crawford here has a healthy body and is arrogant, so he'll gain more more willpower and more endurance per level, and not a lot of wisdom per level. So he'll be really bad in wisdom rolls. And then he's also pretty, which means he's likely to have romantic relationships with the people around him, and people will like him, which can be pretty useful, actually. It's an important mechanic because it will actually increase your combat ability. Then we have the mage, who's bright, so that's intelligence growth, which is great for a mage. Mana core, which regenerates mana, which is amazing for a mage, and huge, which is odd for a mage, which she's going to be gaining more strength and physical attack. So, interesting trait to have as a mage, but sure. And then the rogue, who has a dubious upbringing, so more dex growth, and a starting level of dex and willpower, which is pretty good for a rogue. Selfish, which means Doesn't lose bravery points when allies get critted or die. However, they cannot target allies with any skills or items unless they're best friends or lovers. So that means that, like, if someone next to her is about to die and she has a health potion, she's not going to share that health potion unless she's close with them. And she's also scared of fire. So if she receives or causes fire, she loses bravery and she has lower fire resistance. As you can see, she's been burned. She looks a bit like Zuko. In fact, dubious upbringing, selfish and scared of fire. I think we have a Zuko here. But let's go into our first combat. Oh no! Bandits! No need to panic. Bandits really shouldn't scare you. They're like introductory enemies for adventurers. Why don't you come here and say that to my axe? Oh, they look pissed now. Guildmaster! No worries. I still think you can take them on. Let them come at you first, and try to use the environment to your advantage. Alright, tutorial for battles. So battles in our Adventurers Guild are turn-based. Every round, characters will get a turn to act. The order depends on their initiative, plus a random number between 0 and 10. The higher the outcome, the earlier the character can act. On their turn, characters have a number of action points to spend actions. So the order is here. So it's going mage, defender, them, rogue, them. And then action points are down here. So our mage has 4 action points, for instance. At the end of your turn, once per turn, you can also delay. So basically, you can let them take an action first and skip, and then take your action later, which I will do often. However, this will give you a 50% penalty on your initiative for the next turn order calculations. So you will act later if you delay. Every character also starts with a movement point, which is your green. Your movement point can also be used as an action point if you don't intend to move. You can initiate movement actions by either clicking on the movement button or pressing the associated hotkey or simply clicking a free tile. And there's a combat log on the right if you want it, which is here, right there. Okay, so they have a crossbowman and an axeman. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay my turns. I'm going to let them come to me. There's no point in running them down. And the crossbowman closes the distance and shoots our defender. And as you can see, the Eleanor cannot get close enough to melee, but could be here and throw a knife. With that said, if you move but don't do any actions, you can right-click and reset your movement. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I don't necessarily want to get real close enough for the axeman to hit me. So I'm going to let the axeman move first. And now I can take my turn. So with our mage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the high ground. The high ground will give you an accuracy bonus over enemies below you. Keep in mind, however, for melee attacks, if you're too high, like if you have like a high ground advantage of like 2 or 3, the enemies below you can't be hit because they're like beyond your reach because you're way too high up. In terms of spells, there's magic missiles, which is very basic. The advantage of magic missile is it has no cooldown and it has basically no cost, but it's not very powerful. You've got a firebolt, you've got earth spike, you've got ice bolt, and then you've got lightning bolt. Lightning bolt has the greatest range. One of my favorites to do early on is earth spike. One of the advantages of earth spike is it will shove an enemy in a specific direction. So if I earth spike this bandit here and shove him into the crossbowman, they both take damage. Like that. So tutorial knockback. Some skills allow you to push enemies in a direction. If they are pushed and an obstacle is in the way, they suffer collision damage. The damage depends on the distance they've been pushed and their level. When an enemy is pushed into another enemy, both of them will suffer collision damage. However, if an enemy is pushed into an ally, the ally will attack the enemy, causing the collision damage to increase. The ally, on the other hand, will not suffer any damage themselves. So shoving enemies into our own tanks and meleeers, great strategy. The extent of the damage increases depending on the relationship between the adventurer, the initiator, and the ally. It's important to note that if the ally has a bad or a negative or bad relationship with the initiator, instead of attacking the enemy pushed into them, they will also suffer collision damage themselves. One of the advantages of having our defender be pretty is people will like him and likely have a good relationship with him, so he's not likely to be anyone's rival. All right, I'm going to hit end turn for our mage, and I'm just calling them Mage, Defender, Rogue because they're going to be renamed really soon. All right, Crawford, you close the distance to the crossbowman. Now, in this case, what I can do is I could do a shield push and shove the crossbowman back, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to give the crossbowman extra range. That wouldn't make sense, right? Like, I don't want to give him the option to disengage. So what I'm going to do instead is a shield bash. Taking the crossbowman out for a turn. Now, an end turn. And then Eleanor here can close the distance. And what I'm going to do is a bleeding strike. If you take a look at the health bars here, a normal strike won't kill it. A thrown knife won't kill it. And a bleeding strike won't kill it. What I'm hoping to do is the damage over time from the bleeding strike will kill this enemy. With any luck. So now it's bleeding, and it will be bleeding for 3 turns. So it deals X true damage on the start of the unit's turn based upon the skill of the attacker. And it's dead. All right. Eleanor, let's use some rear attacks. So, attacking from behind is a sneak attack, and sneak attacks are extra effective. Mage, let's shove you into our tank, and engagement over. Experience is awarded not based upon individual performance, but just the party as a whole, and then you get loot. Turn down the music even more. Alright, attribute checks. There will be times when you have to do an attribute check to succeed. You roll a number between 1 and 20. If the rolled number combined with the modifier is greater or equal to the difficulty, you've succeeded the check. In some cases, failing the roll will have a negative consequence for the party. Be aware that you will always fail with a 1 and always succeed with a 20. If you fail the roll, you have the option to spend your bravery points on a reroll. Be careful, there will also be consequences for an adventure that runs too low on bravery points. Sometimes you can circumvent rolls by carrying certain items with you, like shovels to remove obstacles or keys to open chests. So, let's talk about bravery points real quick. Green bar is health, blue bar is your spell points, and the white bar is bravery points. Your bravery points are basically a currency. It's another sort of like spell point that you can use in combat. So there are abilities which will use bravery points. You can also take extra turns using bravery points. And bravery points can be refunded when you kill people or rallied by a leader. So it's like a way to do special attacks and actions. So clearing this obstacle is a 15 strength check. And right now, my highest, strongest person, which is probably the defender, has a strength of 6. So let's use a shovel, because we happen to have a shovel on us. So we had a shovel, we have a key, we have 6 supplies, 1 health potion, 1 mana potion, and the loot that we got from last engagement. Wait! This place is full of resources we can collect. Collecting resources is an important part of adventuring. We can use them to make our own potions and equipment. So try to always collect all the resources if possible. Sometimes you might not have enough space in your inventories, so try to prioritize what you bring back with you. So anything is shining here, and if we take a look at the map, which is M, you can actually see the resources here as well. So this is what we've discovered and not discovered. And then you can see that there's herbs and wood. Herbs, for the most part, is for potion making. And then wood is going to be for, like, weapons and bows and the like. So 2 wood. 2 wood. And here's some ores. And if you take a look, we have 20 slots in our inventory. So we're nowhere close to filling up. And then similar items will also stack up pretty high. So you can... Oh boy, we got jumped. Damn it. Now we're getting attacked by wild monsters? Beware of that direwolf. It's a quick fella, and I reckon that at your level, you'll have a hard time hitting it. Do you have any tips? I do. Believe in yourself. Any other tips? I'm being serious. I've seen you fight. You're all stronger than you think you are. Really? Yes. I've hardly seen anyone as talented as you lot. Now, go out there. I'm sure you'll be able to defeat those monsters. Yes, Guildmaster. Will not disappoint you. They really bought that? This whole Guildmaster thing is going to be a lot easier than I thought. Alright, bravery in battle. So I was just talking about bravery points. Sometimes you will find yourself in a situation that seems unfavorable to your adventurers. By taking advantage of the bravery system, your adventurers can easily turn the tide of a battle in key moments. Each adventurer has an amount of bravery points, which can be spent on powerful temporary buffs. But be careful when spending your bravery points. Having too little bravery points gives minor debuffs to the adventurer and risks them getting shaken status when they reach 0 bravery points. Meanwhile, having high bravery points gives your adventurer minor buffs. Always consider the trade-off when using bravery points. There are several ways to obtain or gain bravery points: defeating an enemy, landing a crit, or getting encouragement from allies with close relations. Likewise, bravery points can be lost by getting too hurt or having allies die. High bravery adventurers gain bravery faster than low bravery adventurers, so having a high base bravery is good. It's also worth noting that, as they mentioned, for opening boxes or clearing obstacles, opening boxes is like a dex roll, and if you fail it, you'll lose bravery trying to try again. So it's also nice to have someone in your party with high dex and someone in your party with high bravery, high strength, to also have high bravery, so they can make extra roll attempts in order to try to get boxes open or obstacles cleared. So I am going to pass or delay on my current turns again. And we got the wild boar doing a craze charge, which stunned me, so Crawford will skip his turn. And then in this case, this direwolf is hiding in the bushes. So we cannot target it, but it will be removed if the character uses any skill, unless it only affects themselves. Hidden characters will not trigger counters. So basically, if I got adjacent to this enemy, it would cease to be hidden. I'm going to throw a knife. And then here is one thing that can cost bravery points. A heroic hit increases the accuracy of the next skill by 30. This can stack multiple times. The hit chance can reach 100%, overriding the effects that might otherwise limit the maximum hit chance. So just keep in mind that you can just like max it out. Now, I don't think she's going to have a hard time landing hits, so I'm not going to worry about that. But that would be like a use of bravery points. Okay, next turn, and Crawford is up. Alright, so Crawford kills the crazed boar, and I'm going to do block. So block increases my block until next turn, meaning that if I get attacked, I'm more likely to block rather than take damage. And yep, direwolf indeed attacked, and it didn't work. So in this case, if I drop the wolf off the cliff, because there is a cliff here, it's a too high cliff, I think it will take more damage than if I shoved it at our defender. However, you see that percent chain over his head? Chaining attacks happen when you have parties with close relations, or rather individuals with close relations, or a party with a high synergy. Eventually you get the ability to form like parties with leaders. And I write this all up in the guide. Those chain attacks will go up and up and up as people have better relations with one another. So in this case, I will shove the wolf into our defender, and then have the rogue finish it off with just a thrown dagger. It only had a 47% chance to land, but I landed it all the same. There we go. And in this case, we got some boar liver and common hide and beast blood and stuff like that. Good work, everyone. At this point, you're all probably exhausted. We should camp now to get you some rest. It's important to always know when to take a break and recover. So camping. Traveling around the quest map and fighting enemies is an exhausting task for your adventurers. If the stamina bar gets depleted, your adventurers will be in an exhausted state, making them less effective in combat. To recover their strength, you have to camp. While camping, adventurers have to consume supplies to heal. The amount of supplies needed depends on the number of adventurers and their traits, so plan accordingly. During camp mode, adventurers can perform actions to heal themselves and buff the party. However, actions are limited by the amount of camping points available to them. Different classes have different camping actions to choose from. So at the top of the screen here, that is your stamina. And when your stamina is depleted, that is when you become exhausted. So we actually really don't need a camp at the moment, because we have 361. Camping will also heal you and restore your SP, however. So there might be a reason to camp, even if you aren't necessarily exhausted, if you need to heal for any reason. So here is an event. And the event always has that like purple circular star symbol over it. Damn it, there are even more bandits ahead, and they're blocking the road. Does that mean we have to fight our way through? Not necessarily. Not everything has to end in a fight. We might have other options, depending on the situation. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so before we enter this, I am going to camp and show you the camping mechanics. So we have 6 remaining supplies. And we could do no meal, which will lose health, SP, and bravery. A meager meal, which gives us 1 extra camp point and a little bit of healing. A satisfying meal, or a hearty meal. And I have 6 supplies, I'm just going to do the hearty meal. There's also an ambush percent. Often, it will be greater than 0 when you're like out in the wilds, and you might get ambushed while trying to camp. But generally speaking, the ambushes are smaller attack parties than what is normally presented on the battlefield anyway. So I'm going to do a hearty meal and camp at maximum food. So we gain health, we gain SP, we gain bravery, and then we have 6 camp points left. So if you click on Crawford, Crawford can polish his armor to gain more physical resistance. He can render first aid, or he can encourage others to raise BP. And the amount of BP restored depends on the relationship between him and the others. So it's really effective if you're trying to comfort, like, a friend. In this case, I am going to... hide in the shadows with Eleanor, so that she starts hidden at the start of the battles. And then polish Crawford's armor. And that's all my camp points, and then I rest. I hate sleeping on the ground. I miss my bed back home. You'll get used to it. I doubt that. Just think of it as a free massage. Ahead of the adventurers were a group of bandits blocking the road. It seemed like they were waiting for their next group of victims. The adventurers could see that the bandits slightly outnumbered them. A fight was therefore not in their best interest. The party remembered what the guildmaster said to them and started to think about alternative ways to get past them. So, there are some choices here. We could try to intimidate the bandits to let the party through, which is a strength roll of 12. Have one of them try to lure the bandits away, dex roll of 12. Pretend to be bandits, which is an int roll of 12. Or attack the bandits, which does not require any stat checks. And this is when knowing your party and your party's composition and your party's strengths and weaknesses come in handy because it will inform your choices. So we're going to try to pretend to be bandits. So here, as you can see, our mage has a base int of 8. The roll is a difficulty 12, and I can hit roll. So we rolled a 14, puts us well over 20, right? 22, way higher than the 12 difficulty, so it worked. Rhadamant put forth the idea that they could masquerade as bandits, and attempt to negotiate their way through. Since adventurers were often mistaken for bandits, there was a chance that they could pull it off. After all, bandits wouldn't rob other bandits, would they? The guildmaster shared their reservations, but the rest of the party seemed willing to give the plan a try. Together, they brazenly walked towards the bandits, their movements purposely rough and sketchy. At first, the bandits seemed wary of the approaching group, but Rhadamant quickly diffused the tension by claiming they too were bandits. She played a role of the seasoned bandit rather convincingly, and started to rant about the difficulties of their chosen lifestyle. To the guildmaster's surprise, the bandits readily agreed and shared their own complaints. She lightened the mood with a clever quip, and they all erupted into laughter. At one point during the conversation, emotions began to run high, and everyone started to crying for some inexplicable reason. One of the bandits spoke about his ailing grandmother, and another listed off the names of his 12 starving children. Rhadamant, in turn, began to recount a sorrowful tale about her disapproving parents, leaving the guild master uncertain as to whether anything she said was actually true. The bandits and the adventurers bid each other farewell and were allowed to pass. As they parted ways, she reassured the bandits that they were all capable of overcoming any obstacle in life, which moved the bandits to tears. Observing the emotional scene, the guildmaster remained silent, wondering if he had possibly hallucinated the encounter due to a head injury. And we gained SP as a result of that encounter. So here is a chest, and I'm just going to use the key. Might as well. And in this case, we got a dodge ring. When you have a dodge ring, you can go to the equipment and just drag it on. So now, our rogue's dodge chance will go up a little bit, which seems pretty reasonable for a rogue to have. Finally, the group reached their destination. In front of them stood a giant fortress, an old abandoned Empyrean fortress that had been claimed by the Adventurers Guild several years ago, and now acts as a base of operations for the Adventurers Guild. In front of the fortress stands an old familiar face. Okay, quest completed. And this is the after battle report of all the things we got, the valuables we got, which you don't have to sell your valuables, they're just turned into gold, the experience, and the loot. The total amount of experience that everyone earns, so they're all about halfway to level 2. Ah, great. It's her. This is Fiola, my friend's wife. She and I have an agreement. I can't stand her. She can't stand me. So you really came back? Rad. Fiola, I see you're still here. I was sure by now that you'd be already back in your swamp hut brewing some children in an iron cauldron. Charming as ever, I see. I guess the only thing that grew older is your exterior. Still, I can't believe you will become new guildmaster. What was my husband thinking? It's like a nightmare. You can help me get rid of mine by going back to the underworld you call home. And just leave the guild, which my husband had spent his life to raise, to someone who is, I'm sure, done nothing worthwhile in the last 10 years? I think not. You want to go? Try me. Well, there are you two. We're here to greet the new guildmaster, not to start a fight. And who are you? Hello, guildmaster. I'm Falcon, one of the instructors of the Adventuring Guild. I was asked by Fiola to accompany her this meeting, saying that it would be troublesome if the two of you were alone. But I didn't quite expect this. Rad and I share a history. Rad was a friend of my late husband, but the two of us never saw eye to eye. I was too afraid that your gaze would turn me to stone. And wouldn't that be wonderful? Besides, of course, from the ugly statue that would spoil the landscape. Jeez. no need to underline your relationship before me. Don't we actually have more important matters to discuss? For example, welcoming the new guildmaster to the Adventurer Guild. Congratulations. Although, I have to admit, this won't be an easy position to be in. Fran's letter slightly hinted at it. How bad is it? I don't know how much you heard about the Adventurers Guild. It has been going downhill for some time now. We lost most of our reputation and contacts. All of our seasoned adventurers had left us, and there is not much gold left to keep the guild going. Honestly, it's a mess. That does sound bad. That's why you're here. The former guildmaster was certain that you could bring the Adventurers Guild back on its feet. Where do we start? My suggestion would be start recruiting new adventurers. You can usually find them in the tavern. How about we pay it a visit right now? Alright, before we do that, let's go and name people. Here we go, change name. So you are going to be Fish Pickles. Okay. And what I'm going to do is set up the roster as well. So he's got a healthy body, which is good for endurance. He's pretty, which is good for romance and relationships. And he's arrogant, which is a mixed trait. Some traits are good, some traits are bad, some traits are mixed. So arrogant is good for willpower, but bad for wisdom. Good for bravery, at least. All right. Next up, our mage is now Ink. And Ink is bright, which is great for mages. Manicore, which is like one of the best traits a mage can have. Oh, and if you're wondering, these are all random traits I started with. Anytime you start a new guild, you're going to get random traits for your first three. So I didn't know what they were until just now. And then Huge, which is a strange trait for a mage to have, but, you know, maybe there'll be like an Arcane Knight or something in the future. Who knows? That's up to Ink, not me. And the last but not least, we have Guitar Lilin. Our rogue. And she is dubious upbringing. She's also got selfish and scared of fire. Which is, low-key, like, not great traits to have, I'll be honest. But, you know, maybe she'll overcome some of them, who knows. So, let's see here. If I open up my roster now, give it 1 second. As you can see in the roster, we have, updated it. So, they're true to form of who they are and what they do. And I'll try to keep the roster up to date as we play. Meaning that any person, any viewer that has a character assigned to them, you'll know the state of your character at any time. And Fish Pickles has relinquished his hero. Okay, so let's go ahead and random that one off. I have a raffle timer up, and I'll raffle that off in just a minute. Or 5 minutes. Okay, other things to note before we go forwards. Wounds. I'm sure the game will tell you about what wounds are. But essentially, over the course of a fight, when you lose HP, the percentage of your HP to your maximum HP is how wounded you'll be after the fight. So what this is saying here is it will take 3 days for whoever this person's name is going to be, because Fish Pickles, it won't be Fish Pickles. It will take 3 days for this person to recover from their wounds. Now, there are ways to recover from your wounds faster. And if you're wondering, if you lost health, let's say you had 100 health and you lost 10 and then healed 10, you would still be wounded. If you lost, and then so it's not about the end health that you had at the end of the fight. You can't like out heal it and then not be wounded. It's about the total damage accumulated over the course of the fight. So if you went through like 5 different encounters, and you kept going from like 100% health to 90 to 100 to 90 to 100 to 90, and back and forth, you would come out of that fight having been wounded many, many, many times, wounded some. And that would be different than going from 100 to 90 once. That would be like lightly wounded, and the other one will be like moderately wounded, or something like that. And that's how these wounds work. Alright, so let's jump into the bar. Can I have another one? You already had enough, you lightweight. Who are you calling a lightweight? I ain't drunk yet. Sure. Oh, hi Fiola. And hi Vulcan. Is this? Hello, Tabby. Yep. Right. This is, unfortunately, the new guildmaster. Unfortunately? Don't mind them. Just introduce yourself. Hello, guildmaster. I am Tabby, and this tavern belongs to me. This is where all the adventurers go when they need to relax. If you think someone had a hard day, just send them to me and I'll make them a drink until they're too intoxicated to even remember why they were sad in the first place. I would have phrased it differently, but yes, sometimes the former guildmaster would buy drinks for adventurers to raise morale. It is actually quite efficient. My advice is to keep that tradition and to occasionally buy a drink or two for the adventurers. Anything else I should keep in mind here? As I already said before, usually new adventurers who would like to join the guild also arrive here. In the past, we would get adventurers from all over the world wanting to join us, many who have already made a name for themselves. Nowadays, however, the only people who come here are people who are too inexperienced or too weak to make it on their own. Hey, I heard that. So what? If you have a problem with that, then prove them wrong. That's what I thought. Anyway, we should start looking for adventurers here. At least enough to field a full party of 4 on a quest. Okay, got it. Hey, how about me? Blah. Yep. Lightweight. Thank you for tuning in to our Adventurer Guild, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. But please keep in mind, I'm trying to avoid backseating and spoilers. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord to take part in community events, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow adventurers.